he was a retired naval aviator. He was a fighter pilot during World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. He led his squadron in the bombing of the Japanese unsinkable battleship, the Yamato, and that is what he received the Navy Cross for.
Welcome back to Everyone Has a Story, True Tales from Everyday Life. This week's story is about an American hero. Highly decorated during his 25-year career as a naval aviator, Gerry Huffman earned the Distinguished Flying Cross, Silver Star, 8 Air Medals, and is a recipient of the Navy Cross. He was also among the elite members of the Legion of Valor. Instrumental in the sinking of the unsinkable Japanese battleship Yamato during World War II, and a key player during the hostage negotiations of the Santa Maria in 1961, his military career was illustrious to say the least. In this exclusive interview, his widow tells us his remarkable story and that of her nearly 40 years of marriage to him. This is Gerry and Judy's story, another true tale from everyday life.
I do have a history of working in the car industry. I was working for Prudential Insurance at one point, selling life insurance in Arcadia. I was near my mom and dad. And I was so bored because I was in group health, and I was bored. And I thought, I'm going to look for another job. So I started looking in the want ads for car dealerships. And I found one for Mercedes-Benz and applied to come for an interview. I was invited for an interview and walked in and found the general manager, who was Gerry Huffman. And that's where I met him. And anyway, I was hired. And then we would always go out with the crew and hang out and have a good time. And finally he asked me out on a date, and I said, well, if you want to go out on a date, I have to leave the agency because I'm not dating you while I'm working for you. End of story. Yeah, well, a few months later, I did. I was hired as an assistant manager at Mia Tizale's Auto House Montclair, another Mercedes Honda dealership. And we dated for 4 years. He was 30 years my senior. One of our loves was jazz music, and we would always go to see big bands and, just really enjoy ourselves. And we both loved music, all kinds of music, but jazz probably was our favorite. And Mom and Dad loved Gerry, even though he was older, because he was just such a personality, all over the place, a personality. He had the best sense of humor. That was the other thing I loved about him and what attracted me to him, as well as music in common. It was the third time we were engaged that we finally decided to go ahead and take a chance. Sometimes you just can't question what's planned for you. You just have to follow your heart. I come to find out that he was a retired naval aviator. He was a fighter pilot during World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Flew off of aircraft carriers, the main one being the Bennington. He went into the drink one time because he missed the tail hook, but he had learned how to operate the Dilbert Dunker and got out and was rescued. And he penned the negotiations between the first public cruise ship that had ever been hijacked from Portugal. And he and his admiral had to go down and negotiate the release of the hostages. And it was called the Santa Maria. And he penned those negotiations. Hostages were released. He also was instrumental in his squadron. He led his squadron in the bombing of the Japanese unsinkable battleship, the Yamato, and led the second strike, which sank the ship. And that is what he received the Navy Cross for. So I don't know if I said this, but he was awarded the Navy Cross, the Silver Star, Distinguished Flying Cross, 7 or 8 air medals, and was admitted into the Legion of Valor. And the Legion of Valor is all about veterans or people who have served that receive the highest medal in their branch of the service below the Congressional Medal of Honor. And I was able to host many of his VF82 reunions. I've danced on the deck of a carrier with his admiral, and I taught him to do the Egyptian, and that was hilarious. And the stories and the bravery just doesn't belong to the veterans. It belongs to the families who supported them. I was not married to him when he was in the service, but I can tell you that I feel like I was, because I would take all the ladies on our reunions and I'd pile them in my car and we'd go to the different sightseeing places, and we just had the best time. And I could not be more proud than being associated with a military retiree, especially one of Gerry's caliber. So we did marry, and we were together, married 36 years, and despite our age difference, really got along famously. The benefit to marrying Gerry was it was a living history lesson. I was able to go to all of his VF82 reunions. I met his vice admiral that he served under. My husband Gerry, when he passed, he ended up with ALS. The last 7 years of his life were at home. First of all, when we bought the house I still currently live in, he walked in the door and he said, "Oh, honey, they're going to be carrying me out of here feet first." Well, his last 7 years of his life, with help from my friend Della, we cared for him at home. He kept saying, "When is Della coming back? And she needs to bring the dog," and so on and so forth. But he ended up totally debilitated, had to be fed, had everything. And he died at home right after I had finished giving him a petty mani because his nails were long and he did not like his nails long. And he passed away. And they called the coroner, and the coroner came and moved him to the gurney and put the flag over him. And I said, "You need to do me a favor." When we bought this house, we walked in and he said, "They're going to carry me out feet first." Normally they take the head out first. He carried him out feet first. And that dream was fulfilled for him. He died in June. It took almost 6 months to get his place at Arlington National Cemetery. He was buried. We had a small memorial here for him. So when we finally got to DC, we had the memorial service in the chapel there. His caisson was waiting for him. He was taken to his gravesite, which has a beautiful view of the Washington Monument. On the caisson, he had a full flyover, military honors to the hilt, the 21 gun salute, and is where I'll be buried when I pass. And one of the things I'm most grateful for now is that my dear friend and partner Della introduced me to Honor Flight. Honor Flight is an organization that's countrywide. We volunteer for Honor Flight Arizona. So we have the distinct privilege of being with the veterans on departures and arrivals and meeting their families and being involved. And you want to talk about a person who's blessed? Yeah, that's me. In Arizona since 1988. I've owned my own company. I had 45 agents at one time. I sold it. I still practice real estate today with my partner Della, basically because I love people and I love helping them. It's not always easy, but that's why we do it. One last thing, though, that I want to mention. It's been 4 years since my husband passed. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think it would take me so long to get through my grief. But grief is there for a reason. You have to embrace it. You have to listen to it. I am just now beginning to free myself, bless on my husband, and bless on my life. I have more life to live. I don't know how much, how long. None of us do. But anything can happen in a split second. So pay attention. Pay attention to your life. Live every day on purpose. Live it with hope. Help others. Be kind.